6:15 p.m. Dear Mother, I will call this place from which I am now writing the smoky cellar of the forester's house. I write on the first sheet of the writing pad which came in the parcel yesterday. Luckily the parcel was small, as it reached me just before we moved off the line. Thus only the parapet was unwelcome. My servant and I ate the chocolate in the cold middle of last night, crouched under a draughty tamboo roofed with planks. I husband the malted milk for tonight and tomorrow night. The handkerchief and socks are most opportune, as the ground is marshy, and I have a slight cold. So thick is the smoke in this cellar that I can hardly see by a candle 12 inches away, and so thick are the inmates that I can hardly write for pokes, nudges, and jolts. On my left, the company commander snores on a bench. Other officers repose on wire beds behind me. At my right hand, Kellet, a delightful servant of A Company in the old days, radiates joy and contentment from pink cheeks and baby eyes. He laughs with a signaller, to whose left ear is glued the receiver, but whose eyes, rolling with gaiety, show that he is listening with his right ear to a merry corporal, who appears at this distance away, some 3 feet, nothing but a gleam of white teeth and a wheeze of jokes. Splashing my hand, an old soldier with a walrus moustache peels and drops potatoes into the pot. By him, Keys, my cook, chops wood. Another feeds the smoke with the damp wood. It is a great life. I am more oblivious than, alas, yourself, dear mother, of the ghastly glimmering of the guns outside and the hollow crashing of the shells. There is no danger down here, or if any, it will be well over before you read these lines. I hope you're as warm as I am, as serene in your room as I am here, and that you think of me never in bed as resignedly as I think of you always in bed. Of this I am certain, you could not be visited by a band of friends half so fine as surround me here. Ever, Wilfred.
testament to his love of nature. And with the birds and the trees and this incredible environment here that they walked through 100 years ago. And this Written in the Wood was the main inspiration behind the making of the Wilfred Owen violin, which was made 4 years ago from a branch of a living tree that still grows in the grounds of Craig Lockhart, Edinburgh, where Wilfred Owen was sent with shell shock with many other officers, and where he famously met Siegfried Sassoon, a fellow poet, and where in Craig Lockhart was to have a huge influence on the development of Wilfred Owen's poetry. So I'd just like to read in this incredible morning this beautiful poem written by a 17-year-old Wilfred Owen, Written in the Wood, September 1910. It was supposed to be sung today in the musical version, but unfortunately Natasha Day, the soprano, is down with the flu and couldn't make it, so I'll read this instead. Written in the Wood, September 1910, Wilfred Owen. Full 90 autumns had this ancient beach, helped with its myriad leafy tongues to swell the dirges of the deep-toned western gale. And 90 times had all its power of speech been stricken dumb at sound of winter's yell. Since Adonis, no more strong and hale, might have rejoiced to linger here and teach his thoughts and sonnets to the listening dell, or glide in fancy through those leafy grots and bird pavilions hung with arras green, to hear the sonnets of its minstrel choir. Ah, 90 times again, when autumn rots, shall birds and leaves be mute and all unseen. Yet shall I see fair Keats and hear his lyre. Wilfred Owen.
Okay, folks, the next piece I'm going to play is called The Battle of the Somme, and it was written by a Scottish piper. Are you going to lay wreaths for this one? Are you going to lay the wreath? I'll tell you what, I'll change... the same time. I'll change tack actually. I'll play Danny Boy, maybe more fitting for this occasion. Okay.
Oh.
Le 4 novembre 1918, un poète tombe. Une semaine avant l'armistice, une semaine avant sa mère ne reçoit son ultime lettre en même temps que le télégramme fatidique annonçant sa mort. C'était il y a 100 ans, c'était hier. Ce chemin sur les pas de Wilfred Owen du 8 août 1918, date de la défaite finale des Allemands devant Amiens, commence la campagne des 100 jours, c'est-à-dire l'offensive générale des forces alliées qui aboutit à la victoire du 11 novembre. Le département du Nord a été libéré par les soldats britanniques avec de forts contingents canadiens, australiens.
The end. After the blast of lightning from the east, the flourish of loud clouds, the chariot throne, after the drums of time have rolled and ceased, and by the bronze west long retreat is blown, shall life renew these bodies. Of a truth, all death will he annul, all tears assuage, or fill these void veins full again with youth, and wash with an immortal water age. When I do ask white age, he saith not so. My head hangs weighed with snow. And when I hearken to the earth, she says, my fiery heart shrinks, aching its death. Mine ancient scars shall not be glorified, nor my titanic tears the seas be dried. Quand aura retenti
The widow of Peter Owen, himself nephew of Wilfred Owen. Ladies and gentlemen, presidents of the Wilfred Owen Association and the Association of Wilfred Owen France. Mr. Javier Hanot, Mr. the Director of Amiens House of Culture. I would just simply like to express the honour that I have to represent today the regions of Hauts-de-France as Regional Council member, as the delegate to the duty of memory and to this occasion of a time of commemorating the centenary of the death of Wilfred Owen Ors, Sambre-Ouise in our Hauts-de-France region. Marked forever in the memory of the Great War that expresses to the world, to Europe, to the Europe of peace, built in the terrible rubbles of these two world wars that evoke friendship among European peoples and the Anglo-French friendship in particular. From the 8th of August onwards, date of the final defeat of the Germans in front of Amiens, the 100 Days campaign started, the general offensive of Allied forces, and ended in the victory of the 11th of November. The Department of the North was liberated by British soldiers with strong Canadian, Australian and New Zealand contingents. If the German fighters' morale shattered during the 1918 summer as numerous desertions and collective
renditions testify. Part of the troops continue to fight with determination right up to the end. As a result, many high losses on both sides in the last weeks of the conflict. I am very moved to be on the path of the forestry house where Lieutenant Wilfred Owen, attached to the Manchester Regiment, and his men took refuge with the staff. The cellar of the forestry house in the Bois de l'Evêque was a refuge for the soldiers, taking advantage of a short break that this war allowed. Dearest Mother, I will call from the place which I am writing, the smoky cellar of the forester's house. This is how the letter dating back on the 31st of October 1918 was addressed to his mother. Wilfred started on the 4th of November. His company was required to cross the Canal through the village of Ors, where the German army units were withdrawing. If his death is the equivalent to his brothers of arms and his enemies, the disappearing of Wilfred Owen just a week before the end of fighting has an even more tragic dimension, considering it symbolises the destruction of talents that the First World War held. Nevertheless, the masterpiece of the war poets is not the only testimony left behind by the fighters. Numerous narratives have been written during and after the Great War, but the power of Wilfred Owen's work is nowadays celebrated in the Anglo-Saxon world. It deserves to be discovered in France and its real value. On the 4th of November 1918, a poet fell a week prior to the armistice, a week before his mother received the last letter at the same time as the telegram announcing his death. That was 100 years ago, yesterday, in other words. On that path, in the footsteps of Wilfred Owen, is a personal request. We live through this tragedy, the bloodshed, the tears and the determined bravery without which there would have been no victory and no peace. We are aware that the announced and absurd death of a man is somehow in our European culture that of a spiritual death. We are civilizations, Paul Valéry in this aftermath, aware now that we are mortal, because a poet who dies is never alone when dying. Mrs. Owen, I'm very impressed. You need to know that this moral and imperceptible duty that the British people confirm eternally, never to forget the sacrifice of the British and Commonwealth soldiers. And I also admire the desire of memory as basis for a structured future, acknowledging the past with a subscription to values and the building of a common ideal. The Haute-France region accompanies this dynamic and exceptional centenary commemoration of the Great War. It also forces us, you need to be persuaded that it does not mean an end in a few days' time on the 11th of November 2018, but a cycle that started 4 years ago. To you, Wilfred Owen, and to all of the fighters of the 1914-1918, I have come here to pay tribute and to give you the greetings from the Haute-France region and its families, who almost all of them had a member in the war, and almost all of them had the death of a cherished one with a consented sacrifice.
was in awe and completing his last war poem, which turned out to be his finest. In fact, it was found in a notebook in his pocket when he was killed. It is called Spring Offensive. Halted against the shade of a last hill, they fed, and eased of packloads were at ease, and leaning on the nearest chest or knees, carelessly slept. But many there stood still, to face the stark blank sky beyond the ridge, knowing their feet had come to the end of the world. Marvelling they stood and watched the long grass swirled by the May breeze, murmurous with wasp and midge, and though the summer oozed into their veins like an injected drug for their bodies' pains, sharp on their souls hung the imminent ridge of grass, fearfully flashed the sky's mysterious glass. Hour after hour they ponder the warm field and the far valley behind, where buttercups had blessed with gold their slow boots coming up, when even the little brambles would not yield, but clutched and clung to them like sorrowing arms. They breathe like trees unstirred, till, like a cold gust, thrills the little word at which each body and its soul begird and tighten them for battle. No alarms of bugles, no high flags, no clamorous haste, only a lift and flare of eyes that face the sun, like a friend with whom their love is done. Oh, larger shone that smile against the sun, mightier than his whose bounty these have spurned. So soon they topped the ridge and raced together over an open stretch of herb and heather exposed. And instantly the whole sky burned with fury against them. Earth set sudden cups in thousands for their blood, and the green slope chasmed and deepened sheer to infinite space. Of them who, running on that last high place, breasted the surf of bullets, or went up on the hot blast and fury of hell's upsurge, or plunged and fell away past this world's verge, some say God caught them even before they fell. But what say such as from existence brink ventured but drave too swift to sink? The few who rushed in the body to enter hell, and there out-fiending all its fiends and flames with superhuman inhumanities, long famous glories, immemorial shames, and crawling slowly back, have by degrees regained cool peaceful air in wonder. Why speak not they of comrades that went under?
Wilfred Owen's letter to Susan Owen, 31st of October 1918. Dearest Mother, I will call the place from which I'm now writing the smoky cellar of the forester's house. So thick is the smoke in this cellar that I can hardly see by a candle 12 inches away. And so thick are the inmates that I can hardly write for pokes, nudges and jolts. On my left, the company commander snores on a bench. Other officers repose on wire beds behind me. At my right hand, Kellet, a delightful servant of A Company in the old days, radiates joy and contentment from pink cheeks and baby eyes. He laughs with a signaller to whose left ear is glued the receiver, but whose eyes, rolling with gaiety, show that he is listening with his right ear to a merry corporal, whose appears at this distance away, some 3 feet, nothing but a gleam of white teeth and a wheeze of jokes. Splashing my hand, an old soldier with a walrus moustache peels and drops potatoes into the pot. By him, Keys, my cook, chops wood. Another feeds the smoke with the damp wood. It is a great life. I am more oblivious than, alas, yourself, dear mother, of the ghastly glimmering of the guns outside and the hollow crashing of the shells. There is no danger down here, or, if any, it will all be over well before you read these lines. I hope you are as warm as I am, as serene in your room as I am here, and that you think of me, never in bed, as resignedly as I think of you, always in bed. Of this I am certain: you could not be visited by a band of friends half so fine as surround me here.